Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Joe Torre. I'm one of the investment counselors here at Real Wealth Network. And today we're going to be talking about Jacksonville, Florida, one of our more popular markets. First, a few housekeeping items and we'll get started. Okay, so this is the schedule of upcoming webinars. Today we're going to talk about Jacksonville, the market, in terms of the job and population trends and things like that. And if you like what you hear today, then you'll want to attend the Thursday webinar, which will talk about actual properties. There'll be a property showcase with maybe 5 or 6 properties, different kinds, new, renovated, single family, multifamily, and so forth. Just by way of background, we used to have just one webinar on Thursday, and what we found was that some of our longer time investors were getting bored because they've heard the Jacksonville presentation or the Cincinnati presentation so many times they just logged off. So what we're doing now is dividing it up into 2, where we have a beginning webinar on Tuesday, which just tells you about the market, and if you like what you see, then you can attend the Thursday webinar, which will be all about properties. So that's how we're dividing it up now. We'll see how that goes. All right, and then next week on Tuesday and Thursday, we're going to be talking about Alabama markets, Huntsville and Montgomery. Same thing, on Tuesday we'll talk about the market itself and why you might be interested in investing there. And if you like what you see, then you attend the Thursday webinar, which will actually have income property showcases with actual properties that are available. Let's see, to attend the Thursday one, you have to have a strategy session. So if you haven't had a strategy session yet, at the end of today's webinar, you'll have a decision to make. If you're interested, you'll receive an email. Just click on the email and you can schedule a strategy session either this afternoon or all day Wednesday. I left my calendar open, and you can schedule a strategy session. We can talk about your investing goals, and then once that flag is set in our database, you'll be able to attend the Thursday webinar and see the actual properties. All right, here's another upcoming event. On Saturday, May the 4th in San Mateo from 11 to 4, we're going to have a live event. We'll have our teams coming out in person in San Mateo. So we'll have the 2 markets in Alabama, Huntsville and Montgomery, 2 markets in Ohio, Cincinnati and Cleveland, and 2 markets in Texas, Dallas and Houston. So it'll be a full day, 5 hours, longer than our usual live event, but you'll be able to see a lot more properties and a lot more, get exposure to a lot more markets. One final housekeeping item, there's a way for you to ask questions during the webinar, and we'll get to them at the end. If you look at the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you should see a little orange rectangle with an arrow. If you click on that, there's a dialog box for questions down near the bottom. So you just click that and type in your question, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end of the after the webinar. All right, just so I'm not some talking head over here, my background, I'm an investment counselor. I've been with Real Wealth Network for 2.5 years. Before that, I was with another turnkey provider that shall remain nameless. I've been investing in single-family homes since 2004. Before that, I worked in high-tech, Cisco, Symantec, those kind of companies here in the Bay Area. And I'm based in the San Jose Bay Area. All right, first a little bit about Real Wealth Network. Our mission is to help you create passive income so you can live life on your own terms. And we try to do all the heavy lifting and make it simple so that we do research all the markets, we vet all the property management companies, the turnkey providers, find the best ones, and do as much of the work as possible so our busy investors who work for tech companies or other companies can leverage the work that we've done and then just invest. And financial freedom is the freedom to live your want-to life, not your have-to life. And here we have Rich and Kathy, our founders, living their want-to life, surfing in Malibu. For those of you who are new to the Real Wealth Network, why should you join, be a member, and stay engaged with us? One, we offer a lot of free education on our website. There's webinars, podcasts, written materials, and it's all free. When you're ready to invest, you schedule a strategy session with an investment counselor like myself, or there's 3 of us in the company, and that also is free. We can put together a plan for you as to how you can achieve your goals. And then after you have a strategy session, you can get access to even more more information on our investor portal, like webinars and other content that's gated. And that's also free. So those are good reasons to be a member of our network. Okay, so just a few things about Real Wealth Network that you should know for those who are new. One, we're not in the flip business. We do buy and hold investing. We find good stable markets that have growth potential or good cash flow, and we buy and hold. We're not into flipping. So if that's what you're into, you can do that somewhere else, but we're about buy and hold. Next, if you want to buy a property with all cash, you'll need at least $60,000. Some of our lower price markets like Detroit, you can still buy properties at that price point. Most of them are higher though. So that's just something to keep in mind. Other markets, you'll probably need to use financing or want to use financing. Next, if you want to use IRA money to invest in property, you can do that, but you should have at least $50K in your IRA. That will give you enough money to put a down payment on a property and also have some money in reserve in case you need to replace something or make a repair or do some ongoing maintenance. For those who are using conventional financing, here are some things you'll most likely need. You need a credit score of at least 680, a 2-year job history at a U.S. company, at least a 20% down payment. If you put 25, you can usually get a lower interest rate, but that's up to you, but you'll need at least 20%. You should have 6 months of cash reserves in your account. That way, if there's any unforeseen circumstances, you have a financial cushion there. And also a low debt to income ratio in order to qualify for a loan. So debt to income just means take your total debt, credit cards, car payments, house payments, that sort of thing, and divide it by your gross income before taxes. So if you make $10,000 a month and your debt is say $4,000 a month, that would be a debt to income ratio of 40%. And typically lenders want to see 40 to 50% or less. So you can talk to your lender when you get to that point. In this case, lower is better. The lower the debt to income ratio, the less risky you appear to a lender. So it's good to have a low debt to income ratio and you're more likely to qualify for a loan. And finally, no more than 10 finance properties on your current credit report because Fannie Freddie has a 10 house limit. This is our disclaimer, the final part of housekeeping. We just want to remind everyone that real estate purchases are subject to risk, including the possible loss of amounts invested. And while Real Wealth Network uses its best efforts to screen, review all of its affiliates and property management companies, we can't guarantee the performance of the investments through these companies. We don't own those companies. They're independent companies that are part of our network. So it's your responsibility as the investor to do your own due diligence before working with an affiliate and purchasing an investment property. We do a lot of our own due diligence, but we encourage you should really do your own also. And for anyone purchasing a property, you should get an inspection from a licensed home inspector to make sure that it's the property is well made and well renovated, and also order an appraisal. So if you're using a loan, the bank will require you to have an appraisal because they want to know that what you're paying for the house is what it's worth, because they're using the house as collateral for the loan. But even if you're buying all cash, you should still get an appraisal on your own just to make sure that you're not paying too much for the property. This is an overview of the markets that Real Wealth Network is in. About half of them are in the Midwest, and they tend to cash flow really well. And then the other half are in the Sun Belt, like Texas and Florida. They tend to appreciate a little better. Alabama has a little bit of both. Today we're going to be talking about Jacksonville, Florida, which is in where that blue star is in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. It's right on the east coast of Florida. And what's good about it, you can't really tell from this, but one of the major industries, as we'll see in a minute, in Jacksonville is shipping and distribution and transportation. When those big container ships from Asia come through the Panama Canal and come up the east coast of the United States, Jacksonville is the first port that's big enough to hold those big container ships. And so they pull in and offload their cargo, and there's a lot of transportation jobs there. CSX is a major railroad company. They're headquartered in Jacksonville. Interstate 10 starts in Jacksonville. It goes west to LA, so truckers can take freight anywhere in the country. And I-95 goes up and down the east coast through Jacksonville. So it's strategically located right there. It's the first place where ships can come, and that's one of the major industries that we'll see in a minute. Why Jacksonville? There's a picture of the bridge. 5 major market drivers that drive growth in a given metro. There's economic growth, population growth, affordability, desirability, and supply and demand. So on the first point about the economic growth, you can see some of the major employers in the Jacksonville area. And the takeaway here is that the economy is very diverse. You got financial services with Wells Fargo, Citibank, Bank of America, Florida Blue Insurance, JP Morgan. You got healthcare, University of Florida Health, Baptist Health, and others, Mayo Clinic, Johnson & Johnson. You also have the transportation companies like CSX, I see there, UPS. And what's not here is Walmart. They have a major distribution center there. Produce that comes up from Latin America, like bananas and stuff like that, gets brought into Jacksonville and then shipped all over the U.S. And what's also not mentioned here is the Navy bases. Because if it's a deep port, it's a great place to have ships. So there's 3 Navy bases in Jacksonville. So the economy there is very diverse. It's not dependent on one industry, and they're all growing. This is an indicator of population growth. It just shows the trends for the last 8 years. The last full year we have data for is 2018, 8.25% change. So it went from about 1.35 million to 1.5 million in just 8 years, and that's really good. Population growth solves a lot of your problems as an investor. When you're looking for tenants and you're in a market where population is growing, it's a lot easier to find tenants. If you have turnover, it's a lot easier to reduce your vacancy time when you have a population that's growing. And with the demand for housing increasing, rents go up over time, property values go up over time. I don't know if everyone is aware, but for the first time in 2016, Florida passed New York as the 3rd most populous state in the country. If you go on Wikipedia and just search on states by population, you'll see that Florida now has 800,000 people more than New York State does. And we see that trend continuing because 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, and a lot of them move to the Sun Belt, and Florida is the _1 destination for retirees. So this addresses the supply and demand bullet point earlier in a previous slide. The population is growing, and they can't build new inventory, new houses fast enough. So supply and demand is working in your favor here in Jacksonville. Let's just give you some basic stats about the home values. You can see the U.S. national average in orange there, in yellow, and then the metro area of Jacksonville, and then the areas where our affiliate invests is that orange line at the bottom. You can see that the properties, while still steadily increasing, are still well below the national average. And that's really surprising, considering that it's right near the coast. It's right near St. Augustine Beach and right near Flagler Beach in Florida. So anytime you can get coastal property that's below the national average, that's a bargain. And that's one of the other bullet points mentioned earlier was desirability. Jacksonville is near the beaches, but it's still affordable. It has a warm climate, no major hurricane issues, and it's a great place to live. And because of the prices are lower than the U.S. National average, it's still a very affordable place to live. These, by the way, are the renovated homes. Our Jacksonville affiliate has renovated homes and brand new homes. These numbers are for the renovated homes. This talks about rents, and you can see from the orange line at the bottom that rents are continually going up in the Jacksonville market. If you look at the rent on this page, it's about $1,200 a month compared to the average price on the previous slide, which was about $135,000. You're getting close to the 1% rent ratio. It's about 0.9%. So it's still cash flows, but you still have, and you also have potential for appreciation. Here's just some third-party validation for about Jacksonville. Trulia at one point called it the #1 U.S. market to watch. Yahoo News called it the #1 coastal market to watch. It's #2 for developing an economic culture. It's favorable for small business. #2 for the most vibrant employment scene, according to Forbes. And it was ranked #3 best city in the U.S. for jobs by Forbes. Now, of course, these accolades are cherry-picked. You could probably find another source that says there's another U.S. market to watch based from somebody else. But it just goes to show that there's an indication of desirability, that as a place to invest and a place to live, Jacksonville is a great place. Okay, so that pretty much takes us through a briefing about Real Wealth Network does and what why our Jacksonville market is a very desirable place. So for now, you can go up there to the upper right-hand corner and ask any questions that you may have. We can see if we can address any of those. Okay, the first one is more elaboration about the hurricanes. Is hurricanes a major issue? And the answer is no. In fact, I did a Google search. Let's see if I can find it. So I searched on when was the last time Jacksonville was hit by a hurricane. It says the last time it was hit on by a storm at hurricane strength was Hurricane Dora on September 10th, 1964. And then it took another 53 years before Hurricane Irma hit in 2017. And that was not a major hit. It kind of went right by the city out in the ocean. One of our investment counselors had a house, and all that happened was a tree fell down. That was the only, and it didn't hit the house. So that was the only incident that I'm aware of that happened in Jacksonville the last time. So for the most part, it's not hurricanes. It's not a major issue. How do property tax rates compare to other states? Let's see. Mark wants to know. Okay, property taxes are about 1.5%. It's about half of what they are in Texas. So while both markets offer appreciation, the tax rates are lower in Florida, property tax rates. And also Florida, like Texas, has no state income tax. So that makes it a good place for businesses to move, and also for you as an investor, you don't have to file income tax returns every year. Except for Andrew Zing wants to know, except for hurricanes, are there any other natural disasters in that area? No, they don't have earthquakes, they don't have tornadoes, nothing like that. Could you please talk about schools and crime rate? Our affiliate on Thursday will be able to answer that in more depth because he's lived there for a long time. It varies by neighborhood. Obviously, we don't invest in areas that have high crime. We invest in B neighborhoods where most people on the street are owners of their own properties. They have pride of ownership. They take care of the lawns. They don't let junk pile up on the lawn or around the house. They take care of their property. So the areas where we invest will be fine as far as schools and crime rate. And the new properties or brand new construction and developments, those will be like A properties. Okay, IBG wants to know where the properties are available to invest. You'll have to get that on Thursday from our affiliate. He'll have a map, and he'll show you the parts of the cities where he invested, the metro area. It's a very large city. It's spread out, and there's certain sections that he goes to. Is termite damage to houses very common in the city? It depends on the construction. If you have a wood construction frame house, they treat it for termites because it's a humid climate, and they treat it for mold, so you don't get mold. If you can find a newer construction home or any home that has a concrete block construction, then you won't have any issues at all. And then if it's a wood frame, then you have to talk to the affiliate about how they mitigate that termite risk. Good questions. Any others? Looks like that's about it. Okay, so I'll just this Tuesday webinar is oh, here it is. But Florida and Texas both have lots of buildable land. How might that influence appreciation? Well, prices are set by supply and demand, and they both have buildable land, but Texas has more. Florida, the gating factor is not just the land, but also the city council and the city planning commission and how quickly they grant permits, and that process takes years for developers to get a development approved, and then finally get the green light and then go ahead and start building it. So it takes many years. So right now they can't build fast enough because the area is growing, and there's new freeway construction, new houses, golf courses, everything like that. So the appreciation is still very steady and predictable, and we don't see, with all the baby boomers retiring and all the industry that's moving there, that there's going to be an overbuilding situation. That happened in Miami when they built too many condos all at once and put them on the market, and that caused prices to go down. That was before the 2008 crash. But we're not seeing that in Jacksonville. Does property management handle maintenance in-house? They do most of the maintenance in-house, but they do have third-party overflow vendors. So, for example, if air conditioning goes down in Florida, that's catastrophic. And if your in-house guy is swamped and you can't wait a day for that to get fixed, so we have overflow vendors that they use to take care of that. And so it's a mix of in-house and third party. What is the general climate? It's pleasant all year round, except in the summer when it's really hot and humid, and people stay inside. That's what air conditioning is for. Anything else? Any other questions? All right. Is foreclosure inventory large? No. In 2008, it was huge. There was where you could get properties very easily. Now it's harder and harder to get properties, I would say. Before, maybe like half of our inventory was from foreclosures. Now it's maybe 5%. So that's gone down. But our affiliate there is still able to get inventory. He's very well connected. He's been living there a long time. He has wholesalers, relationships with banks, and he can get inventory. Okay, I think that's about it for questions. What's this? New construction require HOA fees? Some of them may, yes. And the HOA kind of protects you so your next door neighbor doesn't paint the house green or do something crazy. But typically HOA fees in a new development are very low, and they just go up slowly over time. There's usually a cap of 5% per year or something like that. But most of these questions are good for our affiliate who can talk to you about it on Thursday. So hopefully you're interested enough to attend the Thursday event. He'll be talking about single-family homes as well as multifamilies. He has multifamily like duplexes and fourplexes, and he also has brand new construction as well as renovated homes. So there's quite a menu of options to choose from in the Jacksonville market. So if you're interested in attending this Thursday's webinar and you've already had a strategy session, then you're good to go. You'll get an email invite and you can just click on it and attend just as you attended this one. If you haven't had a strategy session yet, you'll receive an email from me after this webinar, and I'll have a link to my calendar, and you can set up a time either this afternoon or all day tomorrow. I left my calendar open. So we can have a quick strategy call, make sure that Jacksonville fits your investing goals, and then you can attend the Thursday webinar and ask all the questions of our affiliate there. Okay, and also if you're not interested in Jacksonville specifically, but if you might be interested in other markets that we have in the Real Wealth Network, you can still schedule a time to talk to me either Friday or sometime next week, and we can talk about what you're trying to do, and then we can put together a plan for you. Okay, so that's it for today's webinar. It's a nice, short and sweet half-hour webinar that gives you a good briefing on Real Wealth Network and on the Jacksonville market. So hopefully by now you know enough about it to know whether you're interested enough to attend the Thursday webinar. The Thursday webinar will be nothing but properties. He might talk a little bit about his bio and his expertise, but most of it will be about properties. He'll have like 6 or more properties with financial statements, so you can see after all expenses how much cash flow you can expect to net, and then ask him specific questions about the property management, about the markets, the neighborhoods, and other things like that. Okay, today's webinar will be posted on our website by end of day tomorrow under Learn and recent webinars. So that concludes this week's webinar. I hope you found it worthwhile. Thanks for attending and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.